And Queen Camilla inspects some of the thousands of ceramic poppies on display at the Tower of London to mark 80 years since VE Day.
The ceramic flowers bloom at the heart of the tower, which was itself bombed during the Blitz and still bears some of those scars today. These poppies formed part of the first display here at the tower back in 2014. Today they return to honour the sacrifices made during the Second World War.
You've got to give them respect and admiration for what they did, and especially to the guys and gals who didn't come home.
Chelsea pensioners share some of their wartime memories and reflections. And tonight, as we look ahead to what's happening to mark the end of World War II in Europe, we'll hear some of your memories of how the capital celebrated that historic day. Good evening from one of the capital's most historic buildings, nearly 1,000 years old and bombed during the Blitz. The Tower of London is said to stand as a national symbol of resilience. So perhaps it's fitting that the ceramic poppies have returned to the tower, this time to honour and remember those who lost their lives in the Second World War. With more on that, here's Frankie McCamley.
A royal palace, a prison, a home for the crown jewels. Now a place to remember and reflect on the collective sacrifice and loss for so many during World War II.
We've got sort of two main installations. One is this thing, the wound, which is like a big explosive splash, and the other is a pouring of blood off the top of the White Tower that hits a drop on the ground, and then using the slopes of the Tower of London, it kind of flows down, all gathers together and goes out through the bloody tower into Traitor's Gate. So it's a kind of dynamic flowing installation.
Albeit visually spectacular, the poppies carry deep meaning for this part of London.
The Tower of London witnessed some of the worst of the London Blitz. In fact, the tower was struck several times during the air raids of that period, with bombs narrowly missing the iconic White Tower just behind me. And the residents, whilst they were living here, like its community in East London, endured blackouts, cuts to power, electricity, gas, and often terrible fires spread by incendiary bombs. It must have been a really quite terrifying time to be living in the city.
It's the second time the poppies have come here. More than 888,000 filled the space in 2014, each representing a military life lost during World War I. With most sold to raise money for charity, this smaller installation is made from the remaining collection usually found at the Imperial War Museum.
Every single one of these poppies have been individually made, so they're all unique. As for getting them here, it took a team of 20 volunteers 10 days to plant nearly 30,000 of them.
This display is really all about sort of remembrance and reflection, thinking about the wounds of war and how it's affected the tower, and allowing people just to come and make their own meaning and have a chance to reflect and think about the end of the Second World War and what that meant to them, to their grandparents, and to all of those who were affected by the war 80 years ago.
What's it like seeing the poppies here?
They're marvelous. We just lucked out that this was the day that we were coming and that they started it today. So we're excited. I'm excited about them. I've taken a lot of pictures.
We've come down today, didn't know they were here. So it was a real big surprise, and it's lovely.
It's amazing to see them back. It's an anniversary we really have to remember because we wouldn't be here without them.
A sentiment shared by the Queen, who came to lay the last poppy this afternoon alongside 5-year-old Harrison Macham, a reminder of the brave men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice to bring peace to Europe 80 years ago. Frankie McCamley, BBC London.
Well, another important place marking the 80th anniversary of VE Day is the Royal Hospital Chelsea. It's a retirement home for British Army soldiers famous for wearing scarlet uniforms and who are affectionately known as the Chelsea pensioners. The youngest is 66 and the oldest turned 103 on the very day Wendy Hurrell went to visit. Here are some of their stories of World War II veterans and their younger comrades who hold them in such high regard.
When you think about VE Day, yes, we remember our comrades. We in here certainly remember our comrades. But you have to also think about what the rest of the country went through. Everybody was involved in the Second World War in some way or another.
I remember when I was a young lad, I was about 10 or 11. It was the blitz of aircraft came over dropping incendiary bombs. These incendiary bombs are about that long, about that diameter. And one of those incendiary bombs came to the roof in our house. Unfortunately, it didn't fully engage, but I was standing there with my father and mother looking at this thing, sending it away and seeing what it was. It's something I remember. I haven't forgotten that for all those years.
Every day we talk to those people that have served, so we have that respect, and we know, and I feel that, you know, younger generations should also learn and know what they went through.
We sometimes see 100, 150 planes coming over. Our job is to break the bombers up so the fighters get at them. And we was at Western Supermare when it was being bombed, and I remember I helped bring out the dead bodies from the houses being blitzed.
And you were in some, as you say, some very dangerous situations. I mean...
Well, to be perfectly honest, when I joined the Special Forces, I didn't expect to come back alive.
You've got to give them respect and admiration for what they did, and especially to the guys and gals who didn't come home. You know, they're the real heroes in all these celebrations, because we're celebrating their lives.
Well, as word spread across London that the war had ended, millions of people made their way to the Mall and Buckingham Palace. Others stayed at home and partied with friends and neighbours. For these Londoners who were there, it was a jubilant time they'll never forget.
Almost right up to the end, London and southern England had been under fire.
London on VE Day was just one big party, and all those songs of Vera Lynn, you know, it was wonderful.
London certainly had as much right as anywhere to celebrate victory.
Everybody was so happy and glad that the war was eventually over.
5 years I was in the Air Force, 43 to 47. I was quite relieved, you know. I just wanted it all over and get home.
May the 8th, it was declared a national holiday. I was 15 at the time. We happened to have a cousin called Jack staying with us. Jack and I went up to Trafalgar Square, and there were so many people. Trouble fell from our shoulders because we wouldn't be bombed anymore. We didn't have to worry about air raid shelters anymore.
My father used to play the ukulele. Another uncle played the piano accordion. So the neighbours were dancing and singing, celebrating in the street.
I actually became a wireless operator. We used to fly up and down the North African coast. We helped to bring the U-boats in, and we brought them in Plymouth, I think it was.
All the school children got this letter from the King, thanking us, I suppose, for our efforts and so on and during the war, and telling us, you know, that we'd all shown a good spirit, and hopefully the spirit would continue with us for the rest of our lives.
On VE Day this year, I will be reminiscing about my time 80 years ago and thinking how fortunate I am to be here and celebrating.
I was proud, but I was just glad to survive the war.
And I shall just be remembering this great feeling of relief, and we were all so ecstatic. No doubt we shall all be listening to Vera Lynn, you know, all her records, and which really sum up so much the feeling of those times.
A woman who came to the UK in 1939 as part of the Kinder Transport programme has joined in the VE Day celebrations at the RAF Museum in North London. Henny Franks escaped Nazi Germany when she was 16 and later joined the British Army's war efforts as a truck driver. Henny only received the war medals she earned 2 years ago on her 100th birthday. But this week marking 80 years since the end of the war in Europe, Rags Martel went along to the celebration to meet those who experienced it firsthand.
Celebrating a special Jewish survivor.
Henny Franks escaped the Nazis as a child and then fought them back from Britain.
VE Day this week. How special a moment is this?
I remember it like yesterday. And I had a cousin who was in the Air Force. She wore her blue uniform and I wore my khaki uniform. Hand in hand, we went down Oxford Street and she was singing and dancing just like you see. And for me, it was a double good day because I hadn't seen my parents since I was 15 years old. And I was hoping that I would see my parents soon, but unfortunately I did not.
Henny came to Britain when she was 16, part of the Kindertransport, the rescue programme for Jewish children. And as soon as she was old enough, the teenager volunteered for the British Army, serving 4 years driving weapons to UK Army bases.
They wanted me to do cleaning, go in the army and be a cleaner. I said, oh no, I said, I think I can do a lot more than that.
And to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day, the Association of Jewish Refugees has brought together survivors and veterans of the Second World War.
Gathering at the RAF Museum in northwest London this afternoon, together with their descendants, they number more than 150 people.
We're honouring the refugees and survivors who fought for Britain, who served their country to defeat Nazism, and we're celebrating their contribution.
How important is it to remember that?
Oh, it's critical. And they were fighting to defeat the ideology that had oppressed them before they came into this country.
We've redone the ribbons for you.
Henny only got her war medals in 2023, on her 100th birthday.
I'm sorry that they're about 80 years too late.
She never saw her father after the war. He was murdered by Nazis in a concentration camp, but nevertheless, she counts herself as one of the lucky ones.
Well, that's all I can say. I've been lucky all my life. I meet such wonderful people wherever I go.
Some of them started off as Jewish refugees, but then they turned around and helped end the war. Rags Martel, ITV News. Now, as part of the commemorations to mark 80 years since the end of World War II in Europe, the Queen has been visiting a display of 30,000 poppies at the Tower of London. The new artwork, named The Tower Remembers, is designed to reflect the loss of life through war and provide a space for remembrance. And as part of the commemorations, we've been hearing from people about their memories of war and of the day that peace came to Europe. At the start of World War II, Ralph Ottey was a teenager in Jamaica when he decided to set sail for Liverpool to join the RAF. This is his story.
Communication in the West Indies at that time wasn't communication like we have now. You see, we had radio. We certainly didn't have television, and we listened to all the broadcasts. That everything stopped when Churchill making a broadcast.
Prime Minister visited an RAF bomber station and made a tour of inspection.
I immediately thought, oh well, no, that's what I would like to do. I would like to be an airman. I imagined myself to be in an aircraft with a machine gun and shooting down Germans who attacked the plane.
Loading up a rack of small bombs, they get ready to take off for target practice.
When I sat down with the officers who was determining what you're going to do, he just said, oh, well, we have a lot of gunners. What we are short of are transport drivers, and we think you would make a good transport driver. And that was it. We were members of the British Armed Forces, and that was it. We were just like a Scotsman, the Welshman, and the Irishman who was in the service. Things like colour prejudice, no way. We were very happy that we beat the Nazis. Happy time for us. I realized from the experience in the war that you face situations that you don't plan for, but when you look around you, there's nobody else to do it. It's left to me to do, so it's not only start worrying about it, get on with it.
And you can see more of Ralph's story, along with those of many more veterans, on VE Day 80, We Were There. And you can watch now on iPlayer.
We'll be back with a special programme on Thursday to mark VE Day. From all of us here, thanks for watching. Goodbye.